Aloha, my name is Daniel Ronan, student at the University of California, Santa Barbara and a retail specialist, and welcome back to yet another retail case study. During the past couple of months, there's been some news on retailers such as Kmart closing yet another continental United States store in Westwood, New Jersey, and most popularly, Rite Aid potentially filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In this video, we'll be talking about Rite Aid, the larger news, in order to delve into why Rite Aid might potentially file for bankruptcy, what are some financial troubles they are going through, and why there's a lot of store closures that have been going around recently during the past couple of months. So the table of contents. We are going to introduce the case study. We are going to revisit our last case study that we did about Rite Aid involving their rebranding, remodeling, and restructuring plan. What has changed since the company has done their 3Rs, the recent downturn and rumor of bankruptcy, further commentary about the case study, and a conclusion. So, introduction to case study. In November 2021, almost 2 years ago, I posted a video lecture about the 3Rs of Rite Aid: rebranding, restructuring, and remodel, and the business plan they have laid out to pay back their debt load. However, flash forward to now, October 2023, Rite Aid has appeared on the news of potentially filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy to restructure their debt payments. What has happened between the course of November 2021 to 2023? Has the new rebranding worked? Has it failed with American consumers? We're going to delve into today with our case study in order to figure those questions out and provide more context of why Rite Aid has been showing up on the news. So, the revisit from our last case study. So just on retouch, Rite Aid is an American-based drugstore chain based in, or located, sorry, in 18 states that provides local communities with necessary pharmaceutical drugs while also providing other goods and services like the delicious thrifty ice cream, their Western Union service, etc. Throughout the recent years, they have closed or sold off many of their locations throughout the United States to their main competitor, which is Walgreens. Thankfully, not CVS Pharmacy, right? As a result of increased competition, changing consumer demand, and also scandals such as the opioid drug scandal, which we'll talk about in a bit, that Rite Aid has been affiliated with. However, Rite Aid recently went through a massive rebranding. They changed their old logo, they updated their store layouts, and they restructured their business plan in order to be more relevant, more competitive towards the American drugstore chains such as CVS Health, CVS Pharmacy, and Walgreens as well, alongside other local drugstore chains. However, with a heavy debt load and losses in their net income for the past few quarters in November 2021 since, it has hindered the progress of this plan. Has it really paid off? Well, we'll find out. So what has changed since November 2021, since the last case study? Since releasing the Rite Aid case study video back in 2021 of November, not a lot has changed for Rite Aid, especially on the positive end. So we're going to look at the good news and the bad news. The good news is that Rite Aid has launched a pilot program by opening small format locations in underserved communities or locations in rural Virginia that are much smaller than their existing locations. Think of it like Kmart as well, right? They recently remodeled, well, they just moved their location in Miami, Florida from a large format location to moving into their old garden center with At Home, which is a furniture company, occupying the rest of the store. With Rite Aid, they now occupy 3,000 square feet in the rural communities of Virginia, some of them, versus their typical 11,000 to 15,000 square feet stores that we see now. The other good news is that long-term debt payments have been pushed from 2022 to 2025 to avoid a possible bankruptcy, and the debt load is now 3.3 billion, probably more since the recording of this video. That's not really good news. They don't have to pay it now, but they're going to have to pay it later. So it's more of a long-term liability for them in order to pay it, right? So we'll see how that goes. The bad news. Well, here we are. Then CEO Hayward Donegan, who I covered in my case study, well, she's gone. She left the company in January 2023 and has been replaced by Elizabeth Burr, who is the interim CEO now. Rite Aid has posted numerous quarterly losses due to lower COVID-19 vaccinations and testing with a decline in cases. COVID-19 has been a sort of a push for Rite Aid because of all the vaccinations, all the testings, and everyone going to their local drugstore in order to get the necessary, vaccinations or pharmaceutical drugs and other items as well. Well, this has decreased the revenue ever since the decrease in cases. Stores have been closing across the country. Most recently, Rite Aid has been closing up to 500 stores nationwide, most notably in California, Pennsylvania, Virginia, other states as well, if they still exist there. They've been closing a lot of locations. And finally, opioid lawsuits have been circulating Rite Aid amongst other companies, which basically means that there are unlawful prescriptions for controlled substances with the opioid drugs. Therefore, Rite Aid is being hammered with these lawsuits, and potentially filed for bankruptcy could protect them temporarily from these lawsuits. So bad news for, good news too. Who wins the bad news? So it's been pretty bad so far for Rite Aid. The recent downturn and rumors of bankruptcy. So this is where we get to the main information for Rite Aid. During the first half of the year for this year, Rite Aid has been swamped with consecutive quarterly losses. Alongside their heavy debt load, their stock prices have dropped by substantial amounts, which is now 76 cents as of this lecture recording, probably even lower now. During the week of August 28, many news sources have reported that Rite Aid is preparing to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy to restructure their debts and to also hold off on the opioid lawsuits that have haunted them for several years. Hundreds of store closures have been announced as part of their national reconstructing of the company. Please note, almost a decade ago, Rite Aid has almost had 5,000 locations. Most likely after the closure, they'll be just below 2,000. So slashing by 60% is a substantial amount. While not confirmed, many people will follow this case as Rite Aid braces for the future of the company. So we are going to look at some financial reports and analyzing, what has really gone wrong with Rite Aid as compared from 2022 to 2023. So I'm going to put on these guys right now. There we are. So Rite Aid and their balance sheet. So Rite Aid 2022, they still haven't really done so well, right? Their liabilities are pretty high. They almost have a negative equity, which isn't good. You're not supposed to have negative equity. You're still supposed to pay out your stakeholders no matter what. If you have negative, as we have in 2023, you have more liabilities than your assets, and you're going to have to make it up somehow because assets equals to liability plus equity for a simple accounting, right? Just like with Sears Holdings Corporation, for the past couple of quarters between 2010, 2018, when they were having straight losses quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter, they had negative liability. Oh no, sorry, not negative liability, negative equity, which means they can't really pay anything out to people. They try to, but they really can't. So therefore, it really reflects bad for the company. So this is what Rite Aid is going through. Now, the best source for financial reports, for recognizing bankruptcy filing or see if a company is struggling really, is financial reports, stock prices, because then you know what the company's health is at, right? You can't really trust news sources yourself. You have to delve in, look at sec.gov, Edgar search tool, which is what I looked at for their 10Ks, their annual reports, in order to understand what Rite Aid is going through. The next one is their consolidated statements of operations. So OIF, operating, investments, financials, everything else. So for this one, we're just looking at revenues, costs and expenses, annual losses basically. So take a look at this image for yourself. It doesn't look that well from 2021 to 2023, 2021 being when I recorded it, to 2023, which is this year obviously, of how they're doing. And the financial statements doesn't look too good. We can delve in more in depth to understand what the image represents. Okay, so after looking at the balance sheets, operating income, we can better understand what Rite Aid's financial, position is, which is not really so good for the past couple of years because of a lack of strategic operations in order to compete with different competitors. So there's that. And for the commentary, I had one comment to that. There's something I have to say about it, but we'll dive into this one right here. All right, further commentary. Rite Aid during the past several years has dropped as a retail company due to their high debt and failure to compete with brands such as CVS Pharmacy and Walgreens. Although they have a restructuring plan involving rebranding their stores, which they have mostly done, they have failed to restructure the interior of the company, including their debt payments and long-term vision, which is I was gonna mention right now. So Rite Aid had the genius idea, right, to rebrand their company, rebrand their logo, everything else, right? They done a really good job compared to Kmart. When Kmart introduced their new logo in 2004, 2005, when Kmart bought out Sears to create Sears Holdings Corporation, they didn't really update their logos on their stores. They just kept Big Kmart, regular Kmart, Super Kmart Center, Super Kmart. They didn't update to their traditional Kmart logo formats, even though the circulars did and their uniforms did, the exterior of the store didn't. Well, Rite Aid did that. They updated the exterior of the stores, they updated the logos, but they didn't update the interior of the stores, which is pretty bad on their end, right? And then they closed the underperforming stores that had a logo update, that had that sort of update to reflect the company's new strategic vision, which I thought was pretty funny because now they have to take down those new signs they installed a couple months ago of the underperforming stores. So they failed to restructure the interior of the company, but they did rebrand their stores at exterior, but not the interior, which I thought was pretty funny. Seeing Rite Aid stores being remodeled and then they closed down. It invested a lot of money into that. It could be invested elsewhere, right? So that's my little tangent on that. Third point, while the plan is bumpy and could take years to solidify, they also need short-term plans to avoid events such as the preparation of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. However, if they choose to file for bankruptcy, we can hope for a turnaround involving necessary closures and a deeper dive into their debt and business plan for the coming years. And the ultimate conclusion to the case study. Rite Aid, since releasing the first case study back in November 2021, has not changed significantly, especially for the better. While they have a restructuring plan in mind to overhaul their business operations to pay down their debt, they have been interrupted by external factors such as COVID-19 and others. Store closures, default on payment plans for debt, and the change in consumer base for pharmaceutical drugs to other businesses such as CVS Pharmacy have hurt Rite Aid's changing business model. As rumors speculate, Rite Aid filing for bankruptcy, we can all hope that Rite Aid has a plan to pay down their debt while resolving the opioid lawsuit soon, which will take probably months, even years, to add on to their debt payment, basically. So there you have that. And the ultimate thank you at the end. So, Rite Aid, we don't want to lose them. They have Thrifty ice cream shown at the screen, which I saw a couple years ago, which I thought was crazy because Thrifty ice cream is one of the best. So we don't want to lose Rite Aid, obviously. But with their financials, with everything else, it's a little shaky to see what their future is going to be. However, hopefully the best happens and that they could have a turnaround soon. Of course, leave a comment if you have your own opinions about it. It's a very interesting company to look at the moment to see how their finances are and where the future lays for them and also currently as well. So thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon.